fourth Board of Governors webinar series. So for today, we will be tackling the body of knowledge on management and leadership and the business. Before we will start, I would like to introduce first our committee members who poured their give us their time generously to make this event successful. So I'm going to start with myself. I'm Michael De Coco. I'm the chair for the CAL Member Advancement Committee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Thuy Do. I am the co-chair of the CAL Member Advancement Committee, and it is great to see you all. Thanks for being here.
Hi, good morning. I'm Nora Powers. I'm one of the committee members, and I've only been on a couple of sessions this go around. So I'm really looking forward to presenting again and getting to know more of you better.
So we don't have Rick and Sasha today because of some personal engagement that they have for today. So let's move on to the next slide, please. I don't think we have our partners from San Diego organization or SOLT today.
She's in.
Oh, she's in. So is Florencia here?
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Florencia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Florencia Romero, and I am with the San Diego Organization of Healthcare Leaders on their Advancement Study Group Committee.
Thank you. And next slide, please. So I think this is for Florencia. If you can give us some updates for the group.
Updates for events from Seoul, Sachin?
Yeah, so it's on the slide. The next slides are yours, or it's okay?
I'm not sure about this slide, to be honest, but
okay. So yeah. That's fine. So we'll go ahead, Thuy. So if you can go back to the previous slide, sorry about that. So updates and FAQs. So there were questions. There was a question last time about CME. So if you can click the information about the CME's accreditation provider. So there are some offerings for ACHE that can be accredited to CME, continuing medical education. But this particular session that we're doing now is not. So it's only qualified education. So but I'd like to emphasize that. So the qualified education, you can report that to your My ACHE section of the ACHE website. So for 8 hours. And that will also go towards your continuing education units if you're applying for the fellow. Next slide, please.
Great. Yeah, I think this is what I was thinking of.
Okay.
No so for June 8th, the San Diego Organization of Healthcare Leaders will have a virtual joint networking event with the Southern California ACHE chapter. The time is to be determined, but it will be June 8th virtually.
Okay. And for the, if you can go back to the slide, please. For the CAL, we have an event with HFMA on May 5th. It will be a face-to-face units. It will be on May 5th at I think this is in Sacramento. So. And there are also, if you want to avail or, avail of the other resources in terms of preparation for the exam, you can attend the virtual Board of Governors exam offered by the ACHE on May 30 to July 11th. So if the information are available on this link, on this link. So if you want more information, so.
How do we get that link? Is that going to be sent out through email?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
And it's also available, just go out to your ACHE website and then look for upcoming events. This particular one, I was able to copy paste directly from an email that goes out from Cal. Or from ACHE, I'm sorry. Came directly from ACHE.
Okay. Test taking tips. You wanna stop this or take this, Nora, or you want me to keep on?
Yeah, again, we cannot overemphasize. In this particular series, we're trying to emphasize how to prepare for the exam. And a lot of that, I mean, all of us have been through years and years and years of education. So none of this should be, you know, to be calm, breathe, make sure you're thinking clearly. Sherry Ambrose is the one that taught us the heart focused breathing technique, which we do as a team together before we start, although we didn't this morning. So I'm not sure if we're going to be heart focused. But again, and we'll have some more tips in our closing comments, but to remember to read and reread. And again, my favorite thing, read backwards. And we've got some questions that are coming up that have a lot of words. And I love those questions because they make you have to stop and read. Again, beware of things that have, you know, all of the above. I remember my grad school things were like all of the above, some of the above, none of the above. But, you know, and be careful about things that have absolutes, you know, the only, or, you know, most, again, because it's the broadest answers usually going to be the correct one. You have 6 hours, take breaks, you can mark questions for review and come back. So, and everyone here that has taken the exam can attest to that really helps to be able to just mark it, keep going, and then go back. Okay.
Okay, that's me. So so I am Michael Dagog. I will be your moderator for the management and the information about me is in the slides, so you could just read it, and I don't need to go one by one, but I've been with this committee for 4 years now, and I, you know, and it's being, and I'm happy that we are helping people to move forward and advance to advance their fellow status. So it's a good activity for me, being with this group. So I am also with the ACHE for 6 or 7 years and CAL for 7 years as well. So
So what I like, I'm sorry, Michael, what I like to think that you bring to this is not only are you a clinician, clinical background, but you're also managing a whole host of departments, also with clinical staff and admin staff, but all kinds.
Yeah.
So you are in a perfect position to discuss, you know, leadership, management and leadership.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
It's like you manage a zoo.
a zoo. Yeah, that's the right term. Yeah, thanks. Okay, next slide, please. So I will be your moderator for management and leadership today. So the management leadership body of knowledge mainly focuses on principles of management and theories of leadership. Sorry about that. I have to mute me myself. So principles of leadership that, you know, mainly focuses on cultural, operational, and service leadership. So these are the different areas that you have to know. We expect you to learn all this area before you take the exam. And we are not an expert on this on these areas, but as we expect you to learn more before you take the exam. So you need to know about, you know, planning, implementation planning, contingency planning, organizational theories. You have to learn that in every subsystem or organizational theory, in every actions or every decision that you make, there's always someone impacted at the end. So uh, also, your leadership styles, we have been, it's been tested for the last few years because of the pandemic. So we might probably have new leadership styles now that we develop as we navigate through the pandemic. So next slide, please. So these are also other body of knowledge that you have to learn. The change management principle. Always know that there's always a big say when implementing change, which is communication and supporting your people or your staff. And also there's diversity and inclusion principles. So I would like to remind everyone that if you can go to the ACHE website, there's a lot of resources about diversity and inclusion there. So it's highly recommended that you go through it and read that, because I went through when I was preparing for my exam. So, okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so when I was, going through this, a while ago, this morning, this question. It's about capital expenditure. So I'm not sure how it's related to management and leadership, but probably but we will just we'll just answer it. So the purpose of a capital expenditures committee is A, to oversee appointment of competent medical staff to render care to the service area. B, to appoint an effective governing board based on the wishes of medical staff. C, to be responsible for evaluating and prioritizing requisitions for new equipment. D, to implement holder wishes on the future direction of the organization should take. So feel free to put your answers down there in the comment section or chat section. So I always apply the principles or techniques of looking for the keywords. So this is about capital expenditure. So capital budgeting. So what's the purpose of capital budgeting? That's the keyword for me. So A, oversee appointment of competent medical staff, not related to capital expenditures. That's a medical staff functionalities. To appoint governing board based on the wishes of the medical staff, not related to capital expenditure. That's about governance. And to be responsible for evaluating and prioritizing requisitions for new equipment. Yeah, it's very obvious. And the D is to implement stakeholders' wishes on the future direction of the organization should take. So it's not also related to the capital expenditure. And let's look at the answers. People put here as C as the answer, which is survey says C. Yeah. So
And the reason this question is in there is, under leadership, I mean, you do need to know, or management and leadership, you just need to understand what the different committees are. So there are different committees that do things.
Yeah.
So you'd think that would belong more in finance maybe, but it works here.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking a question about how to mark a question on the exam before we go on. Michael, you're the last one that took an exam.
There are three choices that you can. I think if I still if my memory serves right, there are three choices that you can choose. Like just check it for review and check it for something. There are three choices that you can actually choose.
I was actually clicking on something on the.
Yeah, just click on something for review, something like that. Then at the end of the exam, you will see all of those questions that are checked for review.
Technology, what a thing. I still did mine on paper. Anyway, go ahead.
Next slide, please. Oh, okay. Wow, this is long. This is
lots of words.
Yeah, so let's read it. The U.S. healthcare industry is highly diverse, and to address the I cannot see. Sorry, it's To address the
Ongoing
ongoing
challenges.
challenges of workforce diversity, an organization should A, expand the market share by adding or enhancing services that target diverse population. B, develop a linkage between marketplace and workforce that will enhance diverse recruitment, development, and retaining of employees. C, develop diversity educational tools available both for the workforce and to the community. D, develop and implement workforce policies and management practices, maximize the talent and productivity of employees with diverse background. So let's keywords. This is talking about workforce diversity and challenges in the healthcare. So that's how I will sum up the question. So A, let's do a process of elimination here, or true or false. A, expand market share by adding or enhancing services that target diverse population. That is about marketing, so that is, I will, that's false for me. I would eliminate, that's a selection. B, develop linkage between the marketplace and workforce that will enhance diverse recruitment, development, and retaining of employees. I would not eliminate that. I will retain it as one of the possible answer because it's more inclusive and and it's broader in sense. Then C, develop a diversity educational tools available both to workforce and to the community. Still, it's questionable for me. And D is develop and implement workforce policies, management practices, maximize the talent and productivity of employees with diverse background. So let me see. I would probably choose B here. Let's see if I'm correct. Oh, D. Okay, D. So I would like, I will analyze this question. Probably D is correct because it's more broader, because it encompasses workforce policy, management policy, and productivity of employees. So it encompasses all the areas of a workforce, which affects the which affecting the healthcare industry. So that's how I analyze this question. Any comment from the group? You can unmute yourself if you want to.
I think we've got some really good comments there about why. Because, I was going down the path of B also,
Mm-hmm.
but some of the comments are, this is talking about the organization itself.
Yeah.
And apparently the implement is the key, right? You're right.
Mhm.
You're right.
Yeah. The keyword, yes. Great. Well, I'm glad that
See?
Yeah, so we're applying
Smartest people in the room in this session. I tell you.
Yeah. So it relates to the role of the organization and sustaining diversity action, right? Great. Yeah. Okay. So good. Next question. Oh, another one. Another lengthy question here.
Ooh. Okay, calm down. Deep breath.
Uh-huh. Deep breath. So let's go through it. A transformational leader adapts and applies evidence-based leadership in their practice, and the application of evidence-based practice in healthcare management is more challenging compared to the clinical practice setting because A, the culture in healthcare management. So let's go back to the question. This question, if I will read backward, it's about practice, comparing the leadership or a transformational leader to an evidence-based leadership application in clinical practice setting, right? So which is more challenging, right? That's how I interpret this question. So let's go through the selection and eliminate if these questions are applicable to this question. So A, the culture in healthcare management is much less professionalized, with much less formal body of knowledge and great diversity among practitioners. Is that true in the healthcare management? So I would not eliminate that. I will leave that. B, the decision making in healthcare management is supported by various support systems such as handbooks and guidelines, making it complicated. Do we have a lot of a lot? Do we have a lot of support systems and handbooks in healthcare management that is helping us? I would probably say no to that. C, the difference on the context or content of the research evidence from a clinical perspective to management perspectives is not comparable. So let's see, D is just saying the, the a fact that it's you cannot compare the clinical versus management healthcare management. You cannot compare that, right? So it's just stating the fact, but is it related to three? To the question number 3, wherein it's about challenges. So I would not choose that. And D, the culture in healthcare management is highly professionalized with strong formal body of knowledge. Is that right? We have that healthcare management is highly professionalized and a strong formal body of knowledge. I don't think so. So I will eliminate that. So I am left with A. So let's see what are the answers here from the group. Saying A or D, there's one A and D. Okay, so I would choose A for this question. So let's see what's the answer. Yes, A. Yeah, because the culture in healthcare management is much less professionalized and much less formal body of knowledge and great diversity among practitioners. So it's very diverse, right? That's why it's challenging compared to the clinical practice setting in applying the evidence-based practice in healthcare management. So, next slide, please. Okay. An effective emergency disaster preparedness plan includes triaging arriving injured, coordination with other community resources. So, and A, hours of operation, B, an active command structure, C, payment for hospital personnel, D, regulatory approval from CMS. So this question relates about your HICS, so the Hospital Incident Command System, or so I would recommend you to go over your policies and procedure for HICS as you prepare for this. Might as well go also to the website for FEMA, because it will help you prepare for the this knowledge of area of knowledge, which is the HICS or Incident Command Center. So what's the answer? Let's see. B, an active command structure. So yeah, you have to have an active command structure to have a successful emergency disaster preparedness.
How many times, I mean, just watching the news or even in our own organizations, have there not been an active command structure? Everything else is probably in place somewhere on a piece of paper, but
yeah,
unfortunately, yeah.
Next slide, please. Next question. Okay. So committees are important management tool primarily because A, they provide a mechanism for reconciling differing opinions and facilitating decision making. B, they are the only way of providing for intra-staff communications. They keep staff to update on new professional developments. D, they ensure self-expression and participation by staff. So we're getting a lot of A here as an answer. So let's see why are the other selections were not selected. So if I'm looking at this question, it says primarily, right? Keyword is primarily. So what is the the main goal or primary goal of committees? So let's see what's the answer. A. So yes, because as I mentioned, the keyword is primarily. So It primarily provide mechanism for reconciling differing opinions and facilitating decision making. The others are, it can be a goal, but they are not primary goals. It can be an objectives for the committee, but it's not a primary function of the committee. So
And
that's why.
beware, and I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. Beware of the word only in answer B. I mean, that pretty well eliminates it right away.
Mhm.
But again, when you and again, like when you watch, like what Michael's doing today and what Rick emphasizes is, you know, go for what you can eliminate first. You may think A is great, but then you got to go through the rest and eliminate them. And that word only stuck out at me, red flags.
Yeah, and if you heard me a while ago, it's the broader selection. A is the broader selection because it's more inclusive and more proactive way of a committee function. That's why. Right? Okay, next question.
Ooh,
Okay.
lots of words, lots of words, lots of words.
Take a deep breath, relax, slowly. Which one of the following statements is in accordance with the principle of delegation? A, the executive who subscribes to the principle of delegation knows what he or she wants to accomplish and exercise control over the work or schedule of subordinates. B, an executive explains how he or she wants things done and points out how the subordinates contribute fits into the overall plan. C, a successful executive gives instructions telling subordinates exactly how and in what sequence things should be done. And D, in applying the principle of delegation, an executive makes relatively few decisions. It's a few decision personally and frames orders in a broad general terms. So, what is the most inclusive and broadest selection in this question? So I'm getting a lot of D here. Okay, so let's see what's the answer. So D. So it's pretty much obvious, but let me just give a little bit of idea here. So selections A, B, and C, it appears like it's a delegation, right? However, there's still something a decision that is being held by the executive, like for example exercise control, points out how subordinates contributes, and C, it tells subordinate how exactly what sequence. So what do you think are this principle A, B, C, D, A, B, and C? They can be perceived as micromanaging, so it's not really a delegation, right? That's why the best answer is D. That's how I will look into this selection. I will look at the keywords, exercise control. Those are the keywords that I'm gonna look in the selection. So do you have any additional on this, Nora?
Everybody, you yourself said it, and everybody seems to understand it. It's great.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay, next slide. Okay, related to the executive office function. So what is the, okay, which of the following is not an executive office function? So
Beware of that word not.
of that question.
Why I like to read backwards.
Uh-huh.
And people skip that.
So A, control, B, lead, C, support, D, represent. So yeah, it's pretty much obvious, Oh, no. There are, we have a mix of answers here. We have A and D. So
And I honestly cannot recall the response to this. So
okay, let's see. What's the best answer? A is control. I think this is related also to delegation, right? So executive office cannot control. They should be delegating it to the other people to some of their functions, so they cannot control all the functions in the organization. So they are here to lead, support, and represent. So represent in terms of, they represent in terms of social functions or governmental functions. The executive office represent the organization for that.
Good point.
Okay. Next question. Okay, this is this is one of the most question that I hate. The like correct order. So what is the correct order of stages of accomplishing organizational change? So A, identifying, planning, implementing, evaluating. B, planning, identifying, evaluating, implementing. C, evaluating, planning, implementing, identifying. Or D, planning, evaluating, identifying, implementing. So let's see what's the answer here. So, but we have B. So what else? We're saying B. We're seeing A and B here. So yeah. So how did we arrive with A? So as I mentioned, I hate this type of question because you have to know the chronological order of implementing change. So let's see why A. So in implementing change, what do you need to do first? This is about critical thinking. So you have to critically think. So if you're implementing a change, what is the first thing that you have to know? You have to identify the change that you need to do, right? Then, so if you have, then after you identify the items that you want to change, you have to go through the whole process of of implementing, of planning and everything, but and implementation, of course. Then after you implemented, I think this is the most the last stage or phase is one of the phase wherein most of leaders are forgetting, which is evaluating. You have to evaluate, the impact of the change that you have implemented. So if I will put the chronological order here, identify, and the last one is evaluating. So I will not remove A. I will leave it there. B, I will do it because I will remove B because I don't need first in my thinking it's identifying, right? The first is planning here. So I will eliminate this. C also, I don't need to evaluate first. I need to identify first. And D, planning is the middle part of change implementation. So that's why.
Handy, I keep interrupting, Michael, I'm sorry. Handy acronym.
Yeah, so when I was
love pie.
yeah, when I was preparing for this exam, actually this question came up in my exam. So I did an acronym for this. I called it IPI. So IPI. So it's something to remember. IPI for implementing change. Exactly.
But basically, everybody got it right when they said, identifying, or at least most of, identifying is the key. You can eliminate everything else.
Yeah.
Even just with that.
But sometimes, even though there's identifies the first key, look at the last stage. They might interchange implementing and evaluating. So always look at the first and the last stage. Okay. Next question. So this is about accountability. So in the healthcare field, the accountability of management is best measured by A, balance maintained between service quality and operational efficiency. B, results shown on the annual expense and income statement. C, balance maintained between physician satisfaction and patient needs. D, degree to which management's needs are met. Okay. So balance maintain A is balance maintained between service quality and operational efficiency. So I would say this is a balance between outcomes and cost, right? service qualities and outcome, and operational efficiency is related to cost. So it's outcomes and cost. B is results shown on the annual expense and income statement. I think this is a financial statement. It's talking about financial statement. And C is balance maintained between physician satisfaction and patient needs. So this is primarily talks about physician satisfaction. So I will eliminate that too. And D is degree to which managements are needed. It's just one part of it, but it's not the main element of accountability of management. So the answers here that I'm seeing is A, which is the answer is A. Yeah. So we have the accountability of management always, is measured by outcome and cost. So the quality of the service that that you are offering, and at the same time cost.
Everybody got that one?
Yeah. Next question. The cultural climate of organization affects its recruiting procedure because A, it reduces employee turnover and absenteeism. B, organizations seek applicants whose attitude, values, and goals are consistent with those of the organization. C, applicants who cannot support a given culture will be unwilling to work for that organization. D, applicants look only to organizations that portray a positive cultural climate. So let's see what's the answer here. Yes, B. So let's see A. It reduces employee turnover and absenteeism. Is this related to recruitment and selection? So this is about recruitment and selection. This is related to the human resources question. As we mentioned before, some questions are overarching with each other. So, and B, organizations seek applicants whose attitudes, values, and goals are consistent with those of the organization, which is, we call it as a culture fit, right? That's what we always seek when we are hiring. We need to, that's why it's really important. If you are hiring, you have to have these behavioral questions, to make it sure that they are fit culturally to your organization. So, yeah. So, C is applicants who cannot support a given culture will be unwilling to work for the organization. I think this is false because even though they are not, they don't fit in the organization, some of the applicants still say yes, and the impact on that, though, they will not stay longer in that organization. So applicants look only to organizations that portray a positive cultural climate. That is not, also, criteria for hiring or recruitment. So, you have any additional comment on this, Nora?
No, I think what I appreciated was when you associated right away recruiting, what responds to the recruiting piece as opposed to once you already have them.
Yeah.
So that helped eliminate at least the first one. And then some of the others seemed absolutes, like will be unwilling, and C, they may be unwilling, but the context makes sense. Again, looking at the recruiting, you can eliminate at least some of them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Next slide. Next question. Okay, so question number 11. In a dispute between two staff physicians, the primary role of the chief executive officer is to A, as a representative of the governing authority to mediate a dispute, B, avoid any involvement in the dispute, C, meet with both parties as soon as the problem is identified, and D, request the appropriate chiefs of service to investigate and report back. So this question is related to the chain of command, actually. So how do you apply the chain of command in your organization? So or chain of command, or this is related to the reporting structure of the department. So who is responsible for that department? And as a respect, you have to, notify or work with that person first before you do something for this kind of situation. So let's see, what's the answer here? D, yeah. So as a CEO, yeah, you are the CEO, but you have to also follow the reporting relationship. So go to the chiefs first of a service to investigate, and they need to report back to you as a CEO.
How many of us wish we could just avoid it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the lazy way. Ineffective and lazy.
So A is you don't need to involve the governing authority for this kind of stuff. So no, I would eliminate that, the governing board. So avoid any involvement in the dispute. You should not. We cannot avoid. Also, we have to take care of the issue and meet with both parties as soon as the problem is identified. This is not following the structure or reporting relationships of the organization. See, that's why D is the best answer. Okay. So number 12, I think this is the last question for the management and leadership. So for most members of well-managed organizations, the front office is A, a source of authority, B, a resource and a guide, C, a major stakeholder, D, a decision maker only. Yeah, so I'm getting the I'm seeing the answer here as B. So the people are putting it as B as the answer. So source of authority, no, front lines are not the source of authority. That's false. A resource and a guide, that's true. A major stakeholder, no, they are a stakeholder, but they are not a major stakeholder. A decision maker only, they are not only a decision maker. They can decide in their work environment what to do in their workspace. They can also, but they are not only a decision maker. They can also contribute to the organization. So B is the right answer. Okay. And think that's the last questions for management and leadership.
Everybody seems to have done a really good job.
Yeah. So
They are great managers and leaders.
yay. So is there any questions or any comments so far based on what you've seen from the questions and answers from the for the management and leadership before we proceed to the business knowledge?
I just have a comment, and I think it really is about sort of the, I think the negatives in the question kind of throw you off if you're reading it quickly. So thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't be me. I go down rabbit holes all the time. So if you take anything away, don't be me. And my section is coming up next, and on purpose, I haven't reviewed it because I wanted to see if I haven't studied in a while, how would I respond? I'm going to do Rick's famous brain walk. I may get them wrong,
Yeah.
but at least I want you to follow my logic flow.
Okay, so next slide. And this is Nora.
In my younger days. I'm the network manager for the Northern California network for Aetna. What I'm doing right now with Aetna is I represent not only the fully insured, but the self-insured book of business, which are like the local employer groups. And I do contracting with the hospital systems, with large medical groups, capitated IPAs, which happen to be really only unique in California. The rest of the companies, like, what's a capitated delegated IPA? So I'm aging myself here, but most of my managed care contracting career has been here in California. I've worked for hospitals, I've worked for medical groups, worked for insurance companies, and I'm a microbiologist by background. So I kind of have that whole clinical side, and then I can represent, you know, if an IPA is telling me something and I've worked for an IPA, it makes sense and I can understand. So I like to think I'm pretty well-rounded. Then I've been a member of CAL since 2011. I've been on the board, and I've been on this committee since 2011. And it's really been interesting to see the progression, because chapters only started to come in play for ACHE probably the mid-aughts, you know, 2005, 2006. And it was really interesting to see how chapters really started to own wanting to advance their members. And actually, our chapters measured on how many members that are eligible to advance actually go on to advance. And so we have a vested interest. And again, I think I shared at the beginning, or no, I wasn't in the first session. This is our way to pay back to our profession. So we are proud to be doing this. Payback is you guys have to now, you know, join the committee and help it, or any committee you want to with your local chapter. But so I'm proud to have been a member of this for so long, and to see where we used to just have face-to-face sessions with paper, and now we're doing all this virtual, which, you know, unfortunately it took the pandemic to get here. But I think this is a way we've been able to reach the broadest groups of people, and plus involve other chapters. So, and some of you are national, not just based out of California. So that's me.
And
Okay.
I'd like to thank Nora, because Nora is was the founder, right? The founder for this member advancement committee. So they
One of them.
Yeah.
One of them.
one of them, so you're one
Yeah,
of
the
them.
board had designated several of us back in the day to say, you're going to go do this or we're going to kick you out of the chapter. And I was like,
Thank you,
okay.
yeah. Thank you for
And plus
starting
we were one of the first chapters to actually start this. So yeah, we're really proud of that. Thank you. Okay. All right. So now this is like strictly the business side of this, which what's interesting, okay, we've already talked about the healthcare business, and we've also already talked about finance. This kind of blends everything. And a lot of the management and leadership, when you're talking about like, what's the order of things when you're trying to make a change? For example, you know, the identifying stuff. A lot of this, I hate statistics, but there's some statistics in here. So you'll need to understand what different terms mean. So strategic planning. Who doesn't do strategic planning, even in home, you know, your home budget, right? To understand business planning processes, like the development, implementation, assessment. There we go. Knowledge of basic business contracts, like what's key in a contractual relationship. Understanding, and don't we know that this is quite the challenge, the impact that the socioeconomic environment has on our organization and how we function. Okay, next slide. Marketing principles. I will admit that marketing is not one of my strong suits. But you know what? You need to know it. And it is such a vital part of our organization. You know, having to represent a payer, everybody hates payers. So I kind of have to do marketing every day when I'm reaching out. But so it's important to understand how you're presenting to other organizations, to the public, all that good stuff. Principles of media relations, advertising, social media, that wasn't a thing before, and community relations. Okay, so the techniques in negotiating contracts, you know, compromise, persuasion, maybe getting to yes. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the whole getting to yes thing. Knowledge of potential impacts and consequences of decision-making on everything. Whatever decision you make, there's something that's going to have an impact somewhere. Okay, next. Okay, this is a good one. Which of the following is an uncontrollable factor in a marketing plan? What can you not control? Economic environment, budget, personnel, or creativity? Okay, keyword here is uncontrollable. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of A's. So let's do the brain walk. Economic environment. Can we really control that? I don't think we can, but let's keep that answer out there. Budget, can we control the budget? Yeah, we can control setting the budget when we're doing a marketing plan. So there's a factor there that we can control. Personnel, we can control that in terms of how many, who's in there, who's part of the team. And then creativity. Well, by the time you're up in a marketing plan capacity, you must have some creativity. If not, you probably get filtered out. So I can eliminate B, C, and D. So A, I believe, would be the correct answer. There it is. And everybody understood that. Don't we wish we could control the economic environment? Speaking from a health plan perspective, it's a mess out there. We wish we could control that, and we can't. Hospitals can't control it. So yeah. Okay, next question. Okay, lots of words. Okay, the element most critical to the successful design and implementation, most critical of an executive decision support system in a healthcare organization is, okay, the executive decision support system. Is that like a computer network system? Or is it a system of people that make executive decisions? In this case, it appears to be like some sort of decision support system. Sounds like a computer network, something, right? Availability of software for updating the database. Well, is it the most critical? Maintaining data confidentiality. Now remember, this is design and implementation. You're looking at how you're going to design and implement this. So maintaining data confidentiality. Well, I mean, that comes as part of the implementation process, but is it the most critical in terms of designing it? I don't think so. Involvement of top management. I've seen too many instances in which the most beautiful systems are put together, but without involving top management. I remember vividly sitting in a boardroom meeting where they're like, what do you mean the system can't do what this was supposed to happen? And it was like, well, you weren't part of the committee. Well, how many of you have experienced that? So I'm beginning to think C. And then availability of network computer equipment. Well, that comes during the implementation phase. But again, we're looking at the design and implementation, the most critical. So I go with C. And it looks like most people are. Okay. So do you see how I'm trying to also, all of us in any of these sample questions have experienced something like this. But again, don't, you're looking at an answer, but you still need to evaluate and eliminate the others. And then if there's nothing else, you got 2, which one is the broadest? Okay, next. Okay, what is the fundamental reason for joint ventures between healthcare organizations? Fundamental reason. They are allowed by EMTALA. That makes no sense. They are formed because they offer legal routes to cooperative efforts. Okay, let's mark that. They are permitted as a means to share clinical and quality advancements. Well, that can be one of the reasons for a joint venture, or a byproduct of a joint venture. They are created to lower overhead costs. Well, they don't always. So I've eliminated, I think I can eliminate A. That makes no sense. They are formed because of illegal routes. That's the one I believe to be correct, because the other two permitted it as a means. I mean, they don't only share clinical and quality advancement, and they don't always create lower overhead costs. So I go with B. And I'm seeing B. There it is. So again, it's important to remember what joint ventures do. They may do some of this, but it's all within a legal context. The whole Stark rules and all that, you know, safe harbors, all that good stuff that comes into play here. Okay, next. Okay, when contracting for services, an organization typically finds the best value when the organization creates an internal auditor position to oversee the service. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, a board member negotiates for discounted services. Well, that's only if the board member is an expert in what it is we're trying to negotiate, but there may be a conflict of interest there. Maybe. I may be reading too much into that one. The organization allows the prospective supplier to develop the contractual service has expectations. Okay, how many of you have red flags? We've seen that. It's like red flag. And D, there's competition between several suppliers with proven performance and reputation. Okay, I'm eliminating A. Because the internal auditor might not know how to contract for that service. We don't, you know, I'm nervous about a board member on there, so no. You never let the supplier develop the service expectations. So I go with D. Competition is usually the best value when you're looking at several suppliers with proven performance and reputation. So I go with D.
So and Nora, on the selections, now the selections board member negotiates for discounted price services. This is not a function of a board member. So if if you go to the governance, these are not their functions. So that's already eliminated.
Right.
Supplier allows prospective supplier to develop the contractual service expectation. Not only the supplier, it should be a joint effort between the supplier and the and you as the receiver of the services to develop a contractual service expectations that should be in the contract. So that's, I would eliminate that one too. So
okay, so see, it's interesting perspective of how to eliminate those. So again, you know, for me, the red flag came up with a board member, you know, because of what you said, Michael. It's like, that's not their job. Okay, next. Okay, I always get this one wrong. You'd think I'd know better. When data is scarce, the best method of forecasting is to use, okay, this is when data is scarce. Computer-based simulation methods, time series analysis, econometric forecasting, and qualitative techniques. I'll be the first to admit, I don't remember what these mean. So data is scarce, and what we're trying to do is get a best method of forecasting. I'm getting a lot of C's here. Can somebody tell me why they're eliminating the others? I'd appreciate that. We've got someone with D. Anybody? Anybody? D is about how you feel. Okay, qualitative.
that's the gut instinct right there.
I just sense this. Okay, so I'm thinking computer-based simulations models. you'd have to have some data in there. Time series analysis. You know, I'm thinking that time series analysis would have some data in there. Okay, somebody's saying time series is not because it's data over time. There it is. Qualitative is also okay. Okay, who knows what econometric forecasting is? I'll look that up in a minute.
So econometric forecasting is the forecasting used by economists, you know, for those who are
Okay, so there's lots of data there, right?
data. So I don't think forecasting in healthcare is going to be useful for that.
So qualitative then, with doing with what we can, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. The answer is,
Answer says.
there it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you can I say something about this, Nora? So
Yeah, please.
in forecasting, so if in forecasting really you have, if you you are using both qualitative and quantitative technique. So forecasting, if your data is scarce, that is already quantitative, right? So if you don't have enough data in your quantitative way, you have to resort to a qualitative way technique, which is what are the qualitative techniques in forecasting for in healthcare. So that would involve what? Customer interview. What else? Survey. Survey or focus groups. Those are the various qualitative techniques that you might use to if your qualitative data is not suffice.
So I'm now looking at the flashcards that I have. I can't emphasize the flashcards enough.
Exactly. Data is not just numbers. It's also qualitative. That's correct.
Let's see if there's anything in here about qualitative.
A tricky question.
Yeah.
So always remember that there's always different the different method in the qualitative techniques. Yeah, as I mentioned, survey, focus groups, interviews.
Thank you for that. Okay. Next question. Okay, kind of lots of words. Most products and services enter a period of decline. Unless compelling reasons prevail, continuing a declining product or service is costly because increased turnover of personnel will occur. Continuation will set an undesirable precedent concerned with maintaining the status quo. The program will consume a disproportionate amount of management time and delay the search for replacement. Or the organization will be perceived as being insensitive to the marketplace. Okay, we're getting some C's in here. So again, we all know that things go through a period of decline. So unless there's a compelling reason, continuing this service would be costly because increased turnover of personnel will occur. Well, we don't know that. So I don't think that one's correct. Continuation will set an undesirable precedent concerned with maintaining the status quo. It might not. It may set a desirable precedent. The program will consume a disproportionate amount of management time and delay the search for a replacement. That sounds more reasonable. That makes the most sense so far. And the organization will be perceived as being insensitive to the marketplace. I'm not sure the marketplace would see it as being insensitive. I'm not sure if the marketplace would think that, for example, eliminating maternity. I mean, would the marketplace think that if we're continuing it, that we're being insensitive? I think so. I don't believe that to be true either. So I believe it's C. Okay. So again, maybe some of these things will happen right? But again, we're looking at the broadest. Either way, you know, unless there's a reason to continue it, because like there's a maternity desert and you've got to maintain that labor and delivery service. In the absence of that kind of reasoning, it's going to take a lot of, you know, disproportionate amount of management time and delay searching for something that could replace that service. Does that make sense? Okay, next question.
Can we go back to the previous
Yeah.
question? I just want to share my thoughts. So I would say that the, you know, A, B, and D are some effects of continuous use of declining product. So those are the effects. Because increased turnover for personnel will occur, yeah, because if you're using an antiquated system in your hospital, they will look for a more advanced system and they will probably go to that organization. That's how I say it. So those are the effect of, you know, declining use of declining product. And I would say we can be perceived as an insensitive because we are not adapting to the technologies or whatever. So because in this question you have to know the product or service life cycle principle. You know, it's a bell curve actually. So you know it follows the bell curve of a product. It was when it's introduced. Are you an early adopter, mid adopter, or late adopter as an organization? So that's related to
Too
that.
blurry. Okay, anyway, this is sorry, this is one of the product or service life cycle of in the flashcards, and it explains it in the back, and there's resources out of the well-managed healthcare book. So I can't emphasize these flashcards enough. Okay. Next. How are you doing on time? Looks like we're doing.
We're
okay.
good. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, before submitting a business plan for a new clinical service line to the governing body, the plan should be developed by, okay, so we're developing the business plan for a clinical service line. We're going to present it to the governing body. Who should be involved? Recommendations from the finance committee on the basis of its estimate of income for the budget year. I think that's a little too, I'm not sure about that one. The heads of the profit centers considering each other's anticipated revenues and expenses with the CEO putting it all together. Key executives after receiving recommendations from the heads of operating divisions and key physician leaders. The heads of the operating divisions with the CEO putting it all together. So I am seeing, let's see, seeing some C's, maybe an A. So let's see if we can work through this. Okay, recommendations for the finance committee. I mean, is that the, yeah, no, the finance committee shouldn't be the only one developing a business plan. That's part of what, I mean, someone from the finance committee probably should be on there. The heads of the profit centers, considering each center's anticipated revenues and expenses with the CEO putting in, you know, I mean, there's heads of non-profit centers that need to be part of a new clinical service line. So I'm eliminating that one. Key executives after receiving recommendations from the heads of operating divisions and key physician leaders. Maybe keeping that one because it's got physician leaders in there. This is a clinical service line. The heads of operating divisions with the CEO putting it all together. So I'm seeing a lot of C's. Okay, let's see the answer. Okay. So back to my line of thinking, I'm thinking it's the first time I'm seeing anything with a key physician, which I can also substitute clinical leaders. And then key executives are going to be on part of this business plan development, you know. So that's how I got to that answer. Is that anybody else had a different approach? Or did that one make sense?
think you said it right, especially the B, that we need to, you eliminated the B because you need an inputs from the key
from like key executives, right? And they might not be profit
department
centers.
leaders, yeah, key department
Yeah.
leaders. So, or else it's just an upward, upward way of making, finance
I
budget.
said C, but okay, so someone's wondering where the finance committee comes in. I'm sure someone on the finance committee is probably part of the business plan development. So I recall developing business plans, and we had people from all over the place, all throughout the organization, offering what their expertise is from that particular service or division. Okay, next. Okay. Hospital systems have many customers. Oh my goodness, do we not? Of the forementioned groups of people or organizations below, I need to put an S there, which is the least likely to be listed as key targets in a marketing campaign? Okay, we have to know marketing here. Buyers, caregiver exchanges, state government, or patients? It is interesting. Okay, we have many customers, which is the least likely to be listed as a key target. Okay, well, we need to market to buyers, whether that be, insurance companies or employer groups or just the citizens of that market. Caregiver exchanges. Yeah, if we want to be marketing services, I know as a caregiver myself, I need to know what services are available for the person that I'm caring for. State government, I'm not sure. And then patients. Oh no, we need to target patients. So far I've eliminated A, B, and D. So I believe it to be C, and I'm seeing a lot of C's there. Okay. Oh, there it is. So, okay, so those of you that selected C, were you using that same logic flow? With, key targets, we're talking about a marketing campaign, least likely. So, so then I just had to decide, okay, which of these makes sense? And I'm not aware of any key marketing campaign that targets a state government. Okay, next.
Just a few reminders also related to this question. So business knowledge is like a mini MBA. So you're expected to, to probably brush up your knowledge in terms of marketing principles, 4Ps, strategies, and your target population. So.
Yeah. What was new for me was caregiver exchanges. So that's why I had to put my own personal spin on that. So may need to read up on what that is. Okay, lots of words. Environmental assessment or environment scanning is a formal surveillance review of the organization and its environment. Who knew, right? All but one of the following should be taken into account by the planning unit. All but one. Okay. Okay. Community demography, epidemiology, and economy. Well, that sounds important. Trends in physician availability. So we have to look at the organization and its environment. We do need to know what's out there, right? Clinically. Niche strategies and patient community attitudes. Yeah, see, okay, so there's a good point here. So we do need to know the community. We need to know the demography, what's going on in there in the economy. We need to know whose physicians are available. So far, A and B should be part of that. Between niche strategies and patient community attitudes, we do need to know patient community attitudes. Later, we can investigate niche strategies, but that's later. So I believe that the one that doesn't need to be taken into account and looking at the organization and its environment is niche strategies. So I'm seeing that as well. Okay. Okay. And so, again, one is saying, C has only one answer and the question asked for only one, all but one. Good point. See, again, it's very helpful to parse the question. Yeah, the BOG is sneaky that way. Okay, next question. Okay. A healthcare facility can best meet its social and economic goals by developing a realistic and coordinated approach to long-range planning. Sounds reasonable. But remember, this is best. Devoting most of its efforts to the development of efficient operational practices. That sounds reasonable. Having a good public relations program which will focus the facility and the community. I'm not sure about that one because it's not meeting a social and economic goal. It's part of the marketing campaign. Providing all reimbursable services desired by the community. Don't we wish we could do that? Again, you've got to look at keywords. Here we're looking at best, and then we're looking at providing all. I don't think so. So I'm eliminating D. And part of it, I'm going with B because I feel it is the broadest, because we do need to develop a realistic and coordinated approach. But the only way we can do that is if we're developing the efforts of efficient operational practices. That way we stay in business. So I go with B. Oh my gosh, I got that wrong. Okay. That's a good point. I got that wrong. Michael, any ideas?
Yeah, because
on what I missed?
So the selection A, long range planning, it's more proactive way of planning the social economic goals.
Okay.
There's the planning is part of your strategic planning.
Okay, see how I went down a rabbit hole?
So
Yeah, I planned that.
you
No,
have to
truly,
part of
I
your
did not.
should be part of your planning, the to meet the social and economic goals it should be part of your long range planning.
Okay, so there it is. Then once we develop that, that's when we develop the operational practices under that. Okay, that makes sense.
And the keyword is goals. Yeah, according from Cody. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Goals. Okay, see? Later, I'm hoping that you feel that you're learning a lot from my mistakes. Okay, the next question. Oh, okay. Questions and answers. Okay, any additional questions that somebody else can answer? Because this was not my strong suit. Somewhere along the line in the chain, somebody was saying how close to the real questions are these sample questions.
Mhm.
And I will say that these are older sample questions, but what they're pointing out, and again, what we're trying to emphasize is that we're not trying to teach the most up-to-date subject matter. We've got the flashcards, you've got the BOG exam review course, we've got the study books. One of the things we're going to recommend after this is we want to send out the list of registrants so that you guys can set up your study sessions, after this. You just let me know who you don't want it to go to, if you don't want to be included. Our emphasis here is how to interpret the questions and what it is to be looking for. So again, some of these are older, but they give a really good feel about how what ACHE is looking for. If you can tell, they're looking for someone well-rounded in like all these areas. None of us are experts. I mean, you can tell I wasn't.
And some of these questions are developed or paraphrased actually from, from the experience of some of the test takers. We paraphrase them. So you just what we actually talked to some test takers and what are the questions. So we did not copy it. We just, what are the ideas? So we paraphrase and created these questions, and we base it from our reference guides.
And remember, you don't have to have 100% on everything. We never do really know what the passing scores are. But you may do better in some areas than others. Again, one of the things we emphasize at the beginning is there's a self-assessment within the ACHE advancement site for you to assess where your strengths are. All of you are going to have different strengths, different weaknesses. And it's going to be helpful to know that. I now know I need to go back and do business. One of the things once you advance, just every 3 years, you have to re-credential. And if you don't get the education credits and everything that's required, you have to take the BOG again. And part of me wants to, just so I can get a feel for it again. And part of me is terrified. What if I don't pass? But anyway, the point being, these questions in and of themselves probably aren't exact what's going to be on the exam. Several former participants have said that they've seen, like you said, Michael, they paraphrase and it's similar to something we've covered, but it helped them to eliminate, especially when they invoke the Rick brain walk. It helps them with that.
So there's a question from Jackie Chuan. He said, "Where is that located?" So what are you referring? What specific that you're asking?
The self-assessment tool that she had mentioned on ACHE's website, I was trying to find that and I wasn't able to find that. So I was just wondering where that was because, like you had mentioned, we all have our strengths, but also time's valuable. So if we take that self-assessment, if I'm doing fantastic in business, maybe I won't spend as much time in business as I should maybe finance if I'm not very good in the finance section.
So in the follow-up email from the first session, where we talk about the self-assessment, there's a link in there. You can go straight
perfect.
to it.
Thank
And then
you very
again,
much.
just in the ACHE site, when you get into the advancement section, preparing for the exam, it'll also talk about that, the self-assessment, a bunch of other links in there. Next week, maybe if we've got a few minutes, we can walk you through some of the links. If any of you have not gone into the advancement site on ACHE's website, you've got to go in there. It's great. Bunch of stuff in there. And I wish we had that when I was taking the exam. But hopefully we'll have some time next week just to go through some of those. Okay, hope that helped.
Okay, any other questions from the group?
One of the questions I have is just to make sure we've got everybody that's registered getting our emails. Has anybody not been getting either the pre-work or the post? The follow-up sessions. Let me put my email address in the chat. Let me see.
What passing score is? They're asking about passing score. So, what passing score is?
So this is the email address if you're not getting this stuff, so that we can make sure we've got your emails correctly. Oh, Carissa. Okay, Carissa, reach out to me and we'll see why you're not getting these. Okay, so the question about the what the passing score is. So we never know exactly what the passing scores are. If you want to read up some more about how the test is developed and how the scoring goes, I won't even pretend to understand how they're doing the statistical thing, but it's a combination of things. So it's not like you'll ever say, okay, 75% is passing, you know, or 67% is passing. What you will find out is if you've passed, you know, in which section you did or didn't. I don't know if that helps at all.
Can I just ask, is this, it's like a computer adaptive test, right? So we're not all taking the same test. I mean, all the test elements are there, but depending on how you answer, kind of the test questions I answer might be a little different than somebody else, depending on what I'm taking, right? That's
That's
the way
what I-
most of them are. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, one of the things we'll emphasize next week is once you take the exam, whether you pass or fail, please let us know. Let us, and again, we're going to be sending out Survey Monkeys. We've got to get feedback from you to keep making this better and better and better.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will follow up with the passing score also next week. We will do some research and we can and we'll see how and we'll share it to you. So, okay, any other questions before we will close out the session for today?
Just a very, yeah. So if you had like a week left to prepare for the exam, what would you focus on? I mean, I kind of know what my own assessment is, but just from your perspective, from what people typically, with experience, but still kind of leave out of their study, or just from your experience, questions that perhaps, or focus areas that probably people leave out of their study, because I do have 10 days left to prepare.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, no pressure there. Okay. Again, I'm going to emphasize the flashcards. If you already have them, I mean, you can get them. You'll have an option to go get them electronically through the learning part of my ACHE, and you can actually, look at all. You can have it come up with the definition, and then you have to find the answer. Oh, good. There you go. Just do some random selections. I mean, a lot of people have said that helped them. So good. I'm glad you got those. Good luck. Okay, so we'll see you one more time, hopefully. We'll
Pass.
and then payback. You need to get back to us on how it went. Okay. Oh, where do we get the flashcards from? Again, through ACHE. In the initial session, we showed the study
Bundle.
stuff.
Okay. Okay. So, if you have any more additional question, please don't hesitate to send us email, Thuy or Nora. Please send the questions to them, and we will try to answer them. So, well, thank you for your participation today. It's been great to be with you all today, and we hope that we will see you again next week. It's going to be our last session. We will be tackling the quality improvement and performance, and at the same time, the healthcare information technology. So
Just a few light topics, right?
So thank you all, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.